Hi, I am Professor Amitabh Banerjee, and today I'll be talking about a debate which is going on very heatedly on Twitter about whether Ayurvedic is a pseudoscience or whether it is taking us back uh, into the ancient times, whether it and this has been provoked by certain strong statements by one who calls himself Liver Doc. He's a hepatologist on Twitter, and he has a point. He has a lot of points, and which are should be taken seriously because what I am seeing is that all systems of medicine are becoming their own greatest enemy by taking a stance and trying to defend it against all attacks instead of doing introspection. Instead of doing introspection. Everything is not good with modern medicine also, and everything is not good with ancient medicine also. In fact, ancient medicine has fossilized in time to some extent because of lack of research. So they also have to catch up. So I had come in contact distantly with a very brilliant Ayurvedic practitioner who is a Homi Baba scholar and also is a visiting faculty of ISER Bangalore. And he is a Ayurvedic practitioner who gave up higher studies in Ayurveda because he found many of the concepts fossilized. I mean, non-progressive and very open mind. So I am very impressed with his brilliance. And uh, uh, his name is Dr. G.L. Krishna. So I would like to just read out his views on this debate of Ayurveda, whether it is a science or a pseudoscience. He has written a commentary with the title An Ancient Science, caught, caught amid two purisms. Purism means person has taken a stance and would not like that views to be contaminated with any. So there are two camps, two purist camp. Ancient science caught amid two purisms. Purist, he starts, purists come in varied hues. Different types of purists are there. Whatever the hue, the common factor uniting all purists is their unwillingness to revise their pet ideologies in the face of conflicting evidence and newer necessities. This inability becomes even more menacing if it gets nurtured by socio-economic rewards that ideological affiliations bring. A lot of meaning in this. Firstly, the get entrenched in one point of view in a particular trench, not willing to listen to the other view in spite of evidence. And sometimes socio-economic rewards are there that ideological affiliations brings. If there is some reward in promoting a particular science, then that politics takes over than the hard evidence. It's a very nuanced commentary, so I'm just trying to see whether I can convey the message. In fact, I had to read it 2, 3 times myself. He himself is an Ayurvedic physician. That gives credibility. As an insider, wedded to the worldview of evidence-based thinking. He is an Ayurvedic physician and who strongly believes in evidence-based thinking. I have often had to deal with two extreme positions best designated as the purism of Ayurveda and the purism of modern medicine. So he says he got caught between two purists. Modern medicine will take anything which is not in their in their toolkit as pseudoscience. And on the other hand, Ayurveda will say that everything has been already established, no, nothing more is required to be established or tested. So these are the two extreme views, which is killing an ancient science, he tries to convey. The Ayurveda purist hold that all that is contained in the ancient medical classics is sacrosanct and retains relevance in toto. It is toto, what is given in the ancient text, Susutra, Charak, that is in toto, that is final and sacrosanct. I mean, almost it is turned towards faith. Even the obviously outdated physiology and pathology that the classics contain are made to retain full relevance either by labored misinterpretations of textual passages or by cleverly claiming that these are products of an epistemologically distinct knowledge tradition. So they will try to rationalize anything which is, those texts were written thousands of years ago when, howsoever great those physicians, Charak or Susutra, they had a vision, but they did not have access to modern science. They did not have access to dissection, to microscope. So in hindsight, these could have been revised, these concepts, instead of retaining them. So this is what is holding back Ayurveda. That's what he says, an ancient science caught between two. Regardless of the verbal gymnastics and philosophical veneers that this group employs, the fact remains too glaring to be whitewashed. For instance, even a cursory study of the Ayurvedic texts shows that the ancient physicians had no understanding of the role of kidneys in urine formation or that of the marrow in blood formation. They had no idea of physiology because they had limited resources. Kidney function, bone marrow function, naturally they had no idea. There was speculation. Same modern medicine also developed like this. Hippocrates' time developed, they also had humors, bile, subsequently miasma. Similarly, primitive was the knowledge of the other life processes too. Needless to add, pathological ideas built on such a rudimentary understanding of physiology would also be ipso facto rudimentary. Because if you don't understand the physiology, you close your eyes to it, naturally your pathological interpretations also will be off the mark. It must be remembered that the Ayurvedic classics of Charak and Susutra were authored at least 2000 years ago. Given the early date in human intellectual history when these texts were authored, such deficiencies in the knowledge of these basic medical sciences are understandable. We have to give them great credit, but they were limited by their time. 2000 years ago, I mean, they were much ahead of their times. We should be proud of it. We also, but after that, there was a fossilized. After that, science has to move forward. What baffles understanding, though, is the inability of the current Ayurvedic establishment here in the 21st century to acknowledge these deficiencies and make good for them by revising the ancient texts. If they have revised it with the knowledge, then only it is integrative medicine. It cannot be in silos and then you try to put all the silos together without taking out the old dead wood. A haphazard juxtaposition of ancient speculations alongside current facts and confusingly equalizing the validity of both is a serious problem that has been plaguing Ayurvedic pedagogy. In addition to misrepresenting ancient medical treatises as timeless scriptures, this approach has made Ayurveda students intellectually defrauded. It's a disservice to the Ayurvedic students in 21st century by teaching them these texts which have not updated themselves for thousands of years. Modern medicine in 10 years, 50% information gets outdated. And you are trying to persist with 2000 years of text without updating them, treating them as scriptures. The Ayush Ministry and its academic bodies have in recent times only worsened the problem by legitimizing such absurdities as Ayurvedic astrology and homotherapy. He's criticized the Ayush Ministry also as Ayurvedic astrology and homotherapy. You see, he have become my own enemy. Fortunately, unlike the purism of Ayurveda, which is supported by the Ayush establishment itself, the purism of modern medicine has not many backers from within the scientific community. It is primarily represented by a few self-styled but vociferous champions of the scientific method. He says, fortunately, modern medical practitioners don't have such rigid views, except for few self-styled but vociferous champions of the scientific method. Vociferous champions, I think I may put liver doctor in this category with good intentions, he say, but he should just see, let's see what Dr. Krishna, they cherry pick the most obsolete portions of the ancient medical text. Those who say it is pseudoscience, they cherry pick the most obsolete portions of the ancient medical texts, present them with an air of condensation, and declare that traditional medical systems are useless pseudoscience that deserve to be ruthlessly buried. Both parties are to be blamed. Ayurveda practitioners to be blamed, Ayush is to be blamed, modern medicine, some people who want to condemn it as pseudoscience will cherry pick the most absurd things. There are a lot of absurd things in the ancient texts because, as I said, they have not been updated. Shorn of vehemence, this argument is principally twofold. One, traditional medical systems are based on outdated physiological and pathological information. Two, the therapies that these systems advocate are untested for their safety and efficacy. This is true. Both these arguments are half-truths and warrant a studied counter. We require to have a unbiased study exploration. For obvious reasons, skepticism about the usefulness of a medical system built on primitive physiology is justified. Yes, if it is primitive physiology, we should be skeptical. However, the skepticism needs to be tempered itself with a nuanced understanding of the way medical discoveries happen. To be sure, a good knowledge of the biology underlying health and illness contributes enormously to newer drug designs and better clinical care. Definitely, biological molecular research does improve drug design and clinical care, but no less true is the fact that many treatments are derived from the simple age-old empirical methods of trial and error, often supported by luck and serendipity. James Lee Fanu, in The Rise and Fall of Modern Medicine, has elegantly shown how the accidental discoveries of some wonder drugs were made completely independently of any biological understanding of the disease process. There have been some drugs which have come by serendipity, hence surprising discovery of the astonishing effects of cortisone in rheumatoid arthritis, or Laborate's astute perception of the euphoric quietude in his surgical patients, which led to the psychiatric drug chlorpromazine. There are many such instances drugs have been discovered just by luck, accident. An example of a popular home remedy would help the reader appreciate this point better. Hiccups are a movement disorder that occurs when there are spasm of the diaphragm, the muscle that separates the chest from the abdomen. Stimulating the vagus nerve, which runs from the brain to the stomach, often stop hiccups. One simple way to stimulate the nerve is by gulping water. Although it was only in recent times that the said role of the diaphragm and the vagus nerve were discovered, the cure of hiccup by gulping water has been a home remedy since ages. Biological understanding of an illness is not a sine qua non to hit upon its plausible cure. Biological understanding helps, but sometimes trial and error and biological understanding comes later. The Ayurvedic classics systematically documented several illnesses, syndromes, along with prescriptions that were gleaned from centuries of trial and error learning. So, these Ayurvedic texts were written and these prescriptions were centuries of trial and error. The fact that the later text endorse only select prescriptions of these predecessors shows that these prescriptions have undergone repeated and albeit informal verification at the hands of generations of physicians. So this Ayurvedic prescription also, he says, have been for thousands of years, we were much ahead in our prescriptions. We had many drugs, Ayurveda, and many have gone, may not be knowing the formal science, may not be knowing the biological, but just by trial and error, few have stood the test of time. It would be unwise to conclude that such informal verification can make hard evidence, but it would be even more unwise to rubbish them as mere old wives' tales. So, both ways, if it has survived by trial and error, many of their prescriptions, it would be unwise to say that this can substitute for hard evidence. We still require hard evidence, but it would be also unwise to rubbish them as pseudoscience. So there are areas to be explored. The work before us, the way forward, therefore, is to subject Ayurvedic therapies to an evidence-based scrutiny so that the best of it gets reinforced for safe and effective use. Such a scrutiny would, of course, first require a demystification of Ayurvedic theories. We require to demystify. Now it is being treated as it is something miraculous, supernatural, sacrosanct. We have to demystify it, the Ayurvedic theories. A strict scientific attitude alongside a benevolent interest in traditional knowledge bases are both required in accomplishing this work. Scientists such as M.S. Valyathan and Subhas Lakhotia, who were actively involved in the Ayurvedic biology project, are exemplars of these qualities. Coming from fields as diverse as cardiac surgery and cytogenetics, they investigated their intellectual energy. They invested their intellectual energy in scientifically studying the truth of Ayurvedic observations. The purist, though, would have none of it. Despite their irreconcilable differences, they are both agreed on one thing. According to both of them, Ayurvedic theories and practice do not need any evidence-based appraisal at all. Both opposite camps agree कि इसका तो evidence-based आ ही नहीं सकता. That is pseudoscience. Other one जो were staunch old timers, they will say जरूरत ही नहीं है. It is all established. The Ayurvedic purists feel that the texts are too perfect to need any appraisal. The purists of modern medicine believe that the same texts are too useless to deserve it. Waste of time. Caught in this midst of these extremes is an ancient science that instructed millennia ago that truth and righteousness reside in the golden mean. Robert Hutchison, a savant of modern medicine, wholeheartedly seconds it. From too much zeal for the new and contempt for the old, good Lord, deliver us. So this has been written by Dr. G.L. Krishna. He is an Ayurvedic practitioner who is a Homi Baba scholar and a visiting faculty of ISER, Bangalore. So this science, I would add a note here, कि both convictions are unscientific. So science always goes on exploration. Science is never certain. The more certainty you have on a particular issue, yeah, certainty towards the point of excluding any alternative views, that is towards faith, dogma, that is not science. So modern dogmas can also evolve and ancient dogmas are also there. The way forward is to those who are too rigid, they should also subject the Ayurvedic teachings down the years to strong evidence base and retain only those which are having evidence, and there need not be such boundaries. Now they are trying to integrate it just like khichdi, whatever in toto the baggage, without without updating those ancient things which are not based on biological, pathological, physiological discoveries down the ages. There is no such thing as this science or that science. The science is science. Physics is physics. There is no such thing as physics, ancient or physics. Similarly, medicine also should be exploration. What holds good is science, is medicine. Uh, Artemisinin, the modern anti-malaria drug, was discovered from an ancient herb, Chinese herb, and that got the Nobel Prize. So there may be many of all rich toolkit of Ayurvedic herbs, which may have potential if all uh, this this polarization is eliminated, and they work together, and we can have good solid evidence, and only those we should not have this sort of attaching a ego with it, ki anything which is we should be fair to the ancient practitioners of Ayurveda who wrote this text 2000 years ago. Most likely many of the things will be off the mark because they did not have access to modern research methods, modern microscope, modern investigation. So with the proper combination of this modern research and ancient empirical research, which have been just down the edges, which have been established by trial and error, we could go forward without any antagonism, and of course, it would be too premature to integrate it without properly refining Ayurveda, without properly updating the ancient traditional medicines, without properly having strong evidence base. It would be too premature to integrate them in the MBBS syllabus, which is already overtaxed. So these are my certain loud thinking, and I was very impressed with Dr. G.L. Krishna's very open views, and definitely I would like some inputs from the viewers, because that will have a healthy debate rather than closing the debate.